Hi, everyone. This is our first Lady Politicos video, and I am so excited. Um, I'm back. I had a baby. He's sleeping right there in that little crib. And now I'm back, and we're doing videos, and my team's like, we have to start recording and doing content, and I'm so here for it, and I'm so excited. So let's do this. We are going to start by celebrating 100 days of the Biden White House. But I think more importantly, 100 days of women leading both behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, all around that White House and across the country to move us forward. So um, I want to start by celebrating this administration and acknowledging first some of the hurt of the past year. Um, President Biden took office amid a once in a century pandemic. We all know that, a pandemic that has killed over 500,000 Americans and left entire sections of our economy struggling to survive. He stepped in at a time we'd had 4 years of damage to our country coming from the very top, from racial injustice to LGBTQIA plus issues, voting rights, immigration, damage to our courts, to international policy. The list goes on and on and on. Biden also inherited an environment of misinformation, fueled by a president governing via Twitter and a country healing from a deadly attack on our nation's capital just weeks prior to inauguration. And while 100 days isn't necessarily indicative of an entire presidency, it does set a tone and offer some insight into the president's priorities and governing strategy. So April 29th, just last week, marked the first 100 days of a Biden White House, and we think it's time to take a moment to celebrate not just the new administration, but as I said, the incredible women running the show, who I would argue are the real reason that we're moving in the right direction again. And it's telling that the first words out of President Biden's mouth during his State of the Union were Madam Speaker and Madam Vice President. We are turning things around as a country because in this administration, a diverse group of smart, talented women are leading in public. They're in charge behind the scenes and they are getting shit done. And it is so refreshing and I'm so here for it. So let's talk about some facts. Our team pulled some facts about kind of what the last 100 days has included, and it's just so refreshing to share some good news. So let's talk about those things. So the White House assembled one of the most diverse administrations in American history, particularly in regards to women and women of color. Then they not only successfully hit the original goal of administering 100 million shots in 100 days, then they doubled the target to 200 million shots in 100 days and hit it a week early, which I love all of that. Our team uncovered the hashtag Shot Girl Summer, and I am so here for it. I just got my second shot a week ago, last week on Tuesday. I was sick for a couple days and it wasn't super fun, but I am so ready to have a Shot Girl Summer myself. Sign me up for whatever that includes. Then they passed a $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, which ensured relief for families, small businesses, local governments. A political science at Claremont McKenna College put it simply. They said few presidents have passed anything as consequential as the relief package in their first 100 days. And I think it just really speaks to how quickly this administration is, moving in, getting things done. They see the crisis at hand as it is, and I think are seeing how it impacts real people and reacting accordingly, which is notable because we got so used to somebody who was just doing nothing in the face of or causing more damage in the face of the crisis that we were in. So and obviously, this obvious, maybe not obvious, but also exciting, the administration rejoined the Paris Climate Accord, rejoining the global fight to combat climate change, supporting the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act in an effort to address systemic racism, and the Fractured Voting Rights Act. So much more work to do on voting rights in this country. But yes, yes, and yes to all of that, and also so much more to do. And I just get excited to think about all the things we can accomplish and dive into as we get going here past the first 100-day mark. So why are all those successes happening? Let's talk first about Biden's cabinet and congressional Democrats first. So these humans are key to a successful first 100 days, and they deserve to be celebrated. Let's start with Speaker Pelosi and her experience working with the president. Pelosi is just an absolute dynamo. I don't have to tell any of you that. She's just squad goals all day long. She has a long history of helping aid the passage of progressive legislation with the president. So just to explain why I think she's critical behind, with his success, and she's critical to the success of the first 100 days, their long history working together are a couple indications of that. In 1994, when Biden was a senator, Pelosi helped him whip votes in the House for the Violence Against Women Act. During the Obama administration, Biden was frequently sent to the speaker to work through legislation that included the auto industry bailout and the Affordable Care Act. So when we look at women who are ready to get things done and move things forward, she's kind of critical to that in DC. And as Biden continues his push for infrastructure and immigration reform, it's no doubt the speaker will be there doing what she does best, which is whipping votes and holding her party together during those tough battles. The White House's liaison to Congress under President Obama said there won't be an important conversation that the president-elect doesn't include her in. He said that before Biden was sworn in, hence president-elect, but it just shows how critical, right, she is. At the other end of the spectrum, those younger members, Reps Cori Bush, Marilyn Strickland, are likely to join the growing squad of progressive women pushing Biden's agenda and also pushing moderate Democrats further to the left. I could have an entire video dedicated just to being their fangirls, but I'll save that for later recording, some other good stuff to come there. And beyond Congress, Biden's cabinet has a historic number of women and women of color in leadership positions. I'm all about celebrating those women who are doing staff roles and working behind the scenes. So I have some notes on those women because there is so much to cover. They're bosses. And let's start with Vice President Kamala Harris, who's obviously not at all behind the scenes, our beautiful, wonderful, talented, smart vice president, the first woman and woman of color to ever hold this seat. Enough said. She's just incredible, and cheering her on every day. Secretary of the Interior, I'm learning how to say this, Deb Haaland is the first Native American woman to head the department and manages the country's public land, endangered species, natural resources, and government relations between the US and Native American tribes. This is an agency that's long been used as a tool to systematically oppress Native Americans, and just so glad to see that representation in that agency and a new direction. Although I know she's undoubtedly has her work cut out for her. These big institutions, right? They get used to doing what they do, and coming in as a change agent I just want to acknowledge and lift up how much work she has on her plate. I think that's really important when we talk about putting women of color in these key leadership roles, right? Is supporting them and acknowledging how much work it takes to dismantle white supremacy in these big institutions. So Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, since its founding in 1789, this is what my staff had to pull up, the Treasury has never been led by a woman until right now, which is just whoa. Janet Yellen is the first woman to ever serve in the position, has hit the ground running, championing a cornerstone of Biden's infrastructure bill and longstanding progressive hope of getting corporations to pay their fair share by advocating for a global minimum tax rate. Love all of that. Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines. Avril Haines is not only the first woman to ever hold this position, she was also the first woman to serve as White House Deputy National Security Advisor and Deputy Director of the CIA under Obama. So we're in great hands there. So that is just, a quick summary of some of the women that are leading the way within the cabinet. And it just shows the depth of their experience, how knowledgeable they are, the diversity and representation that they bring to DC at just such a high level. And right, when you're having women lead these agencies, they're hiring other really smart women and diverse and people with diverse backgrounds to be lifting up these issues in new ways that they never have been before. So I just get fired up and lose sleep over how much good shit is happening under the leadership of these women. And so speaking of people that are getting hired, let's talk about the Biden communications team for a second. So beyond policy and cabinet appointments, one of the major accomplishments of Biden's first 100 days has been his ability to unite the Democratic Party while escaping the label that's often ascribed to his colleagues as being, too progressive or too far left, which I just can't handle. In this partisan, polarized environment, right? That's no small feat to avoid those types of labels. And it's not that people aren't saying that, it's that they're not sticking, right? It's that his communications team is setting up a narrative and a frame that makes it so that those labels just don't stick, right? He can do big, bold, progressive shit, and like people can say all day long he's a radical progressive, and nobody believes it. Um, and so this is notable for me because I come from a background of running state legislative campaigns. We run those, those candidates run on issues that voters agree on. And hint, hint, they largely agree about affordable healthcare, funding schools, common sense gun safety reform. And we use their bios to make it clear that they're trustworthy and credentialed by the community. So when people, the right comes at them with, you're progressive, you're funded by so and so, it sounds like bullshit because they're a member of the community. They care, they people understand shit like we understand about Biden. Like, well, he likes to ride the Amtrak, and he has this understanding of grief in his family, right? We understand who he is at a level that's very human and very relatable. Um, and while Biden's decades-long career in the Senate certainly played a role in that, this expert positioning is undoubtedly the type of nuanced communication strategy you can expect from a woman-led shop. Let's just like say it like it is. This is the work of really, really smart women in politics with a lot of experience, and we're coming to this and saying this is not just about, this is not just about the issues, right? This is about our leaders, Senate, or the President Biden and Vice President Harris, as people, as humans who understand this problem. So I just love that. And in fact, I don't know if you all know this, it was a blip early on in the year, but Biden's White House communications team is uniquely and entirely composed of women. Basically, women and women of color are advising the president, speaking for him, representing the administration on a daily basis. And it's easy to point to their successes, framing that work that's just critical to the success of the first 100 days. And as a client of mine likes to say, point blank, period. It's critical. There's just no other way to say it. I think Olivia Pope and CJ Craig would be very proud of these women and their work. And in his first 100 days, Biden has advanced bold legislation, started to steer our country out of this pandemic, brought back a sense of normalcy that we so desperately needed. But perhaps most importantly, he has done so by listening, following the lead of, and filling the West Wing with brilliant, experienced, progressive women and women of color. That was no mistake. Smart on his part, and I'm just cheering on and lifting up those women doing that work. And thanking them for their contributions, working, 120 hours a week or whatever it is to make all of that happen. So with that kind of positive note here for our first video, I want to thank you all for listening. I can't believe I actually got on and did this video. I'm really a little proud of myself here, and it gave me an opportunity a reason to actually do my hair. I don't often actually look like I didn't just crawl out of a cave these days because I'm at home with a baby and we're still in a pandemic. I'm really excited about this first video, and I'm really looking forward to the next one. Thank you all. Mwah.